Namaskar, I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to our live and interactive session. You are watching us on PM eVidya channels 6, 7 and 8 and also on our YouTube handle NCERT Official. This is our 7-hour online training program on integration of virtual labs for teaching, learning and assessment at the middle stage. Well, in this journey, we are specifically focusing on middle stage schooling, that is classes 6, 7 and 8. And today is day 2 of the training session where we are going to talk about virtual labs for teaching and learning at middle stage. Yesterday, we learned about the policy perspectives, need and scope of virtual labs and how NEP 2020 has laid down certain guidelines and recommendations to provide digital education. And today we will be focusing on the entire teaching learning process, how we have been seeing a shift from traditional methods to up-to-date methods that we are implementing through various means. Now, to have a total interactive session, we request you to kindly participate in the session so that you can get your doubts sorted. Please take down our phone number for the same, which is 8800440559. We also have a dedicated email ID for you, that is diksha.training@ciet.nic.in. And since we are also streaming live on our YouTube handle NCERT Official, you can always go to the live chat box, put in your questions there, any remarks, your suggestions or probably your experience and feedback. That will be really helpful for us. Now, since it's a training program, there is going to be an assessment as well, and we will be releasing assessment courses very soon. You are requested to kindly log on to CIET website for more details. Now it's time for me to welcome my guests for the session. So please join me in welcoming two eminent personalities from CIET NCERT. I'm joined by Professor Indu Kumar. Ma'am is heading Department of ICT and Training Division, and she's also National Coordinator of Diksha from CIET NCERT New Delhi. Ma'am, namaskar and very warm welcome to you.
Namaskar.
I would also like to welcome Dr. Praveen Binjha. Ma'am is Associate Professor from CIET NCERT New Delhi. Ma'am, namaskar and very warm welcome to you too. Now, we are going to delve deep into the presentation and I'm going to ask my first question to Professor Indu. Ma'am, yesterday also we talked about various recommendations of NEP 2020 and since we are focusing on middle stage, I would like to ask you, what are the recommendations of NEP 2020 and NCF-SE 2023, which is another important document for teaching learning at the middle stage?
Yes, since we are taking this virtual lab initiative further for the middle stage students, so we need to know what is there in stock for middle stage students as far as NEP 2020 and NCFs are concerned. So we can see here that there is a total shift in the curricular and pedagogical structure of the middle stage, which has been recommended in NEP 2020. So earlier we were having a 10+2 system of education, 10 years of schooling plus 2 years of schooling at senior secondary stage. But now this entire curricular and pedagogical structure has been changed, and now we have the curricular structure which talks about foundational stage, 4 stages of learning. Foundational stage, preparatory stage, middle stage and secondary stage. So this is something new which is there in NCF, and also curriculum framework is designed as per this new curricular and pedagogical structure. So if we talk about middle stage, so it covers classes from 6 to 8 and children from ages 11 to 14 are covered in the middle stage, and it also recommends to adopt subject oriented pedagogical and curricular style which focuses to conceptual understanding of the subject, because this is the stage where conceptual understanding is very important. So NEP and NCF focuses upon the curricular structure, which is now the foundational, preparatory, middle and secondary, and it talks about strengthening the conceptual understanding of different subject during this period, because then they move on to the next stage of education, which is secondary, and there that conceptual understanding need to be deepened so that they are prepared for higher education. These two documents also talk about experiential learning. We need to link the learning experiences or learning concepts to the experiences of children. So, they need to be made experienced what they learn, and virtual lab also provides opportunities for experiential learning. Until and unless we experience what we are learning, it remains at the only at the abstract level of our knowledge, which is not understood in a better way. So, experiential learning across all these subjects is recommended in NEP 2020, that is science, mathematics, arts, social science and humanities, and the purpose is to foster critical thinking and creativity among students, so that by experiencing the learning process, by participating into the learning process, they get a deeper understanding of the concepts which are there in different subjects. It also talks about multilingualism, because we all know India is a pluralistic country. There is a plurality in terms of the ethnic groups which are there in India. Geographical plurality is also there, and linguistic plurality is also there. So, the plurality in India is multi-faceted. There are multiple dimensions of the diversity and plurality in our country. It is not a single ethnic group society, single language society. So, multilingualism also need to be addressed through curriculum and through NEP 2020. So, earlier there was a 3-language formula. Now, it has been made flexible, and language of each and every ethnic group is recognized in this NEP 2020, and it also talks about that primary education should be mandatorily given in the mother tongue of a child. So, therefore, we need to harness the potential of technology also to provide content in multiple languages. The potential of AI, artificial intelligence, need to be harnessed in translating contents in different subjects. We need to have textbooks in multiple languages, and we also need to have digital contents in multiple languages. The repositories and portals also need to be, their interface or navigation also need to be in multiple languages. And now, for the implementation of NEP 2020 and curriculum framework, NCERT is dedicated to providing content, be it content for students or be it content for teachers in multiple languages. Our courses, professional development courses, are also there in multiple languages. For that, we require a collaborative effort, because a single institution cannot address the providing of content in different languages. We need to get support from different states and union territories as well for the authentic translation of concept. Though the potential of AI is being harnessed for providing content in multiple languages, but there should always be an human touch to it. It should be manually verified also, until and unless AI is trained in a way that it gives an accurate translation. So, these are the recommendation and also provisions which are being provided to address all the recommendations of NEP 2020. So, it also talks about inclusive and equitable education. So, because India is a pluralistic country, so there should be inclusivity. We have to include everyone, providing the opportunities for equity as well. So, the example I gave earlier in multiple languages, it is to providing content in multiple languages. It ensures equity, because we are not compelling a child to learn in Hindi, English or Urdu. So, we are providing the content to them in their own languages, so that they get an opportunity to learn in their own language. So, that is how inclusivity and equity is being addressed. So, then technology integration, NEP 2020 talks about technology integration in a big way. There are 2 chapters dedicated to technology, chapter 23 and chapter 24 in NEP 2020 talks about how technology should be integrated with education, how the quality of education need to be enhanced with the use of technology, and it recommends the provisioning of multiple digital tools, virtual labs and AI to personalize learning and bridge the digital divide. So, it also talks about bridging the digital divide, so that we provide infrastructure to address the digital divide. We provide content in multiple languages to bridge the digital divide. So, these are some of the technology provisions which NEP recommends. It also talks about professional developments of teachers and teacher educators, and technology need to be harnessed for the professional development of teachers. It is categorically mentioned in NEP 2020, because India is a vast country, there is a large teacher population, and scaling up the training through face to face or cascade mode is not suffice to cover or scale up newer development for the professional development of teachers. So, that is why we need to have more and more online professional development courses for teachers. Blended learning opportunities also need to be harnessed. So, that and it also talks about mandatory 50 hours of training per year. So, until and unless we harness the potential of technology, we cannot make every teacher do this 50 hours of training in a year. And continuous professional development of teachers is very, very important, because teachers are the one who are there to impart knowledge, who are there to create learning experiences for the children. Until and unless they are equipped with new knowledge, new developments, they cannot integrate that those new knowledge and new developments into their teaching practices. So, that is why professional development of teachers and harnessing the potential of technology, for that is very important concern of NEP 2020 and curriculum framework. And it also talks about the new curricular and pedagogical structure, as I have already mentioned, and it is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, 5 years for foundational stage, 3 for preparatory, 3 for middle and 4 for secondary. So, middle stage covers classes 6th, 7th and 8th as per this new curricular and pedagogical structure. So, the focus is now shift on experiential learning, as I already mentioned, that teachers need to create such experiences where students be part of that learning process to understand the subjects better, like science, mathematics, social science, art and humanities. And this experiential learning is important for all these subjects. So, maths we feel is a very abstract subject. To integrate experiential learning with mathematics, we need to have such examples, such mathematical problems which children encounter in their day to day life. So, linking the learning of mathematics with the day to day experiences of children. So, it also emphasizes critical thinking, problem solving and abstract reasoning, because this is the stage where learning need to be consolidated. Children need to think critically, they need to become a problem solver, and the abstract reasoning also need to be consolidated. So, it also encourages subject based teaching while maintaining flexibility and integration across a discipline. So, that means that subjects should not be seen as watertight compartments, but the linking between different subjects also need to be there. Science need to be integrated with social science, mathematics also need to be integrated with social science. So, that integration with subjects also need to be addressed. Subjects are not to be learnt in isolation, but there should be linkages. Like in history, if we want to I'll give this integration of different subject. I will place an example for that. For the objects which are found in excavation, we need to set a date for that, how old that object is. So, for that there is a carbon dating methodology which we adopt to fix the date, and it is checked by seeing the carbon which exists in object, because as this object gets older, it releases carbon. So, that is how we fix the date of any object which is found in excavations. So, like that, history is also dependent on science. Some part of history is also dependent on science, and history take place in time and space. It is not happens in isolation. So, time and space is also there, and space is all about geography. So, that is how integration of subject is essential for conceptual understanding. Politics also happens in time and space, and it becomes history over time. So, we need to see all these aspects while taking care of the pedagogy and also the delivery of subjects. So, these are some of the things which needs to be taken care of for middle stage.
Right.
As per the
NEP 2020
mention in NEP 2020 and also in the NCF.
Now, ma'am, you mentioned extensively what NEP 2020 says, and now I have a question. When we already had NEP 2020, what was the requirement for NCF-SE 2023? What this document is talking specially about the middle stage?
The process goes like that.
Okay.
Education is not static, it is dynamic. There are changes happening in the society, and education need to address those changes. Okay. We need to include those changes in the education system. So, there should be periodic development of national policy of education, keeping in view the new changes which are happening. And also newer pedagogies need to be addressed, technological developments which are happening need to be addressed in NEP 2020. Curriculum frameworks are the document which translate the recommendations of NEP
Okay.
into the doable things,
actions.
doable actions.
Right.
So, and then syllabus is developed and then textbooks are developed.
So
process goes like that.
All right, okay. And ma'am, we can also see some of the recommendations right in you know, front of all of us in the form of PPT. So I think it also talks about the same thing, inclusivity and equity, learner-centric approach and hands-on learning. So as you mentioned that it's a process. And ma'am, would you like to elaborate on all these points? Because you also mentioned that we are talking about experiential learning, and at the same time we are catering to the need of diversity, which means use of local context that NCF-SE also promotes, and that is there in the PowerPoint presentation also. Ma'am, please elaborate on this point a bit.
You're talking about
the local context, yes.
Yeah. So it is as I have already mentioned that India is a diverse country. There is diversity, geographical diversity, linguistic diversity, diversity in terms of religion, caste, ethnic groups.
Yes.
So education need to address all these concerns, and one single curriculum, one single textbook, one single language will not address that.
Yeah.
So that is why we need to have local specific curriculum, and education, that is why is there in the concurrent list of our constitution to address this diversity, and that is why textbooks are also developed as the at the state and union territory level, so that the local specific concerns can be addressed there.
And ma'am, the first point in the PPT also talks about age appropriate pedagogy. What do we mean by that? Because it is talking about critical inquiry component.
Yes, pedagogy always need to be age appropriate, because children, as they are growing up, they are at different level of cognitive development. So pedagogy should be as per the cognitive level of the students who we are catering to. So children at foundational stage need to be taught through activities, through engaging them into a play game based learning, and as they grow further, they encounter abstract concepts as well.
True.
So at the middle stage they need to learn abstraction, how to do abstraction. For the maps are also introduced at this stage. So map is a abstract representation of earth, of the areas. So by seeing those lines, how can one address that it is India, this is this particular stage? So that abstraction need to be there, and for that first they need to learn the line diagram, so that they understand that this diagram represent a physical space.
Right.
And then they move on to the learning about maps. So NCF-SE rightly focuses upon age appropriate pedagogy for different stages of education. It also talk about learner centric approach. If we are talking about age appropriate pedagogy, it definitely need to be learner centric, because we are keeping the learner in the center, and also addressing his or her specific needs. Then inclusion and diversity I have already spoken about, and the integration across subject is also I have given example of, and use of local context is also I have already mentioned.
Well, I must say, you know, there is no point that has remained untouched, and both the documents talks extensively about the change in pedagogy and how teaching and learning skills need to be updated. Now, you know, Dr. Praveen, I want to ask you, since we're focusing on virtual labs, and we're also specifically targeting the middle stage teaching criteria, what is the importance of virtual lab here? And we're talking about teaching, so is it just teacher centric, or learners also benefiting from the same?
Okay, it's a very good question. Now, the Professor Indu already detailed explained about
Yes.
that the recommendation of both of the document,
True.
and it's very important to understand. So, in context of virtual lab, what is the need of integrating this virtual lab at middle stage, and what is the significance of using this virtual lab while teaching learning at middle stage? So, if you see that all the focus areas of NCF and that recommendation by NEP, somewhere we found that yes, there is a significance of integrating the technology and to the implement the various pedagogical practices that recommended by the document. We need to integrate that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, first we need to understand what is virtual lab. So, virtual lab is nothing, this is a virtual environment where we do the various activities or experiment. And why this is necessary at the middle stage? So, if you will see that we have discussed lots about this stage is a transitional stage. The students undergoing the development in context to cognitive, socio-emotional and even the physical changes they are experiencing.
Right.
So, based on that, this curriculum is designed so flexible. So, if you will see the first point that can you highlight the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
So,
Can
the
we have
first
the
point
PPT,
is the
please?
cognitive development and that is cognitive growth. So, rightly Professor Indu focused on that abstract thinking. Is very important that students are growing with that one. They are exploring their world and they are encountering with lot of concept. So, some are like abstract in nature, some are like very complex in nature.
Yes.
So, how to understand that concept? So, at these stage students undergoing some cognitive development and changes. So, that is focused in this middle stage.
Okay.
So, if you will see the conceptual and foundation across the discipline, like rightly ma'am explained about,
Yes.
the subject should be across the curriculum. It's not like that science is segregated from the social science or maths is segregated from the your arts and other subjects. It's not like that. So, this curriculum NCF specially focused that should be interdisciplinary. So, that helps building the concept. Okay, and that building the concept means integrating how you will relate the science with math and the social science and humanities and the languages. So, this part is focused and virtual lab ensuring all these things. So, if you see the engagement and motivation, we know more the student will engage, more they will learn, and just you ask me the teacher centric and learner
Yes.
centric. So, the features of the virtual lab we have explained in the previous session, the various features of the virtual lab. Based on that features of the virtual lab, provide the opportunities to get engaged. It creates interest among the students.
Yes.
So, students get motivated once they are engaged on that one. So, the independent learning or we kind of say self learning. So, self motivation, students getting in the virtual lab platform, and at this stage they are in the stage of adolescence. They are experiencing lot of change. So, they want autonomy, self esteem, they are searching for their identity.
Yes.
So, where they will find. So, while forming an identity, they search for some explanation. So, the various questions. So, virtual lab is here to provide that answer to them, and that help them to build their self concept, self identity, and that's build a confidence among themselves. So,
Yes.
this is the need of virtual lab.
At the middle stages.
Yes.
Because of course you're talking about it's completely learner centric at the middle stage, and then we see some more points, ma'am, here, like virtual laboratories, why they're playing an important role. If we can have the PPT on the screen, then that would be great. Yeah. So, of course, about the digital environment, ma'am, what would you like to say about the
So,
same?
okay, so I can show you what is the virtual lab. It will try to understand by the definition. So, virtual laboratory are the digitally created environment. So, that digitally created environment where it's replicate the real world experiment and activities in the digital platform.
Right.
And here like that, in gamification, students they play and they get engaged. Likewise, in the virtual laboratory, lot of learning activities are there, and that learning activities enable students and teacher to perform the experiments without any physical laboratory infrastructure. As you know, physical infrastructure required lot of
Yes.
resources to build and to access even. So, for accessing the physical labs, we need lab attendant, teacher support, and all the resources.
True.
And all. But here, this virtual lab enables students and teachers experience the experiment without or very less resources required for this one. Then it's applicable across the subject. So many a times, one teacher is teaching the subject, science teacher teaching the science, and same time, shifting to the math concept and same time shifting to the language is very difficult.
Yes.
But the virtual lab provide that opportunity where multiple subject can be explored, and they facilitate one concept with the other subject concept. So this is an applicable across the subject, and it's not just for science, math, and with interactive simulation is having the animation, video, 3Ds and models, because we know that students having the individual differences. All students learn different. So they having the different kind of learning style. Some are better learn by seeing, some are by doing, some are by listening, and some are like some simple animations are there, some are very some videos are there. So all kind of resources are available in this virtual lab, and it's enable the remote experimentation in a safe and cost effective environment, like that NEP and NCF. So the digital barriers should be made, and this virtual laboratory will ensure this mending the digital barriers among those learners.
And that is the most important part also, ma'am, because not everybody is going for traditional schooling. Some are learning from open schooling system, and such platforms are extremely important when you do not have teachers all the time with you and you're so motivated that you want to just try. Now, Professor Indu, I want to understand, since we're talking about the learner-centric approach, so teaching pedagogy has to be changed. Now, what teaching or pedagogical strategies are there, and why these matter at the middle stage?
I will speak about it in the context of virtual labs, how it promotes to certain teaching pedagogy for the teachers and also benefits for the students. So it ensures accessibility, because virtual labs are accessible to everyone in a digital environment where everyone can access the virtual labs. So there is also a provision of repeatability. So experiments can be done repeatedly to consolidate their learning. There is also an opportunity to trial and error. They can hit and trial, they can commit mistakes and learn from their own mistakes and redo the experiment several times to get the desired results. This opportunity is not there in physical environment, because the material which is available in physical labs, laboratories are limited, and the lab experiments are given in a limited period of time, because school hours are also limited. But virtual labs goes beyond school hours, and children can learn, access and learn after school hours also, and they can repeat the experience multiple times. So again there is an opportunity to visualization. Visualization is a very important aid to pedagogy, because by visualizing abstract thing, learning gets consolidated. If we remember going to planetariums, it is a simulation of the part of universe, and otherwise we cannot say the universe in that manner. We cannot see the solar system, we cannot see the earth as spherical in the real environment, in reality. So such abstract concepts need a visualization, how day and night occur. So it needs visualization of earth when sun is at one part of the earth and day hours are there, and a part of earth is just not in front of sun, and there is a night at that part of the earth. And for that matters, there are regions, polar areas, where there is the day and nights happen for six months. So how these phenomena happens, how these phenomena occur, what are the concepts behind them, what are the real occurrence behind them, can be visualized in virtual environment, not in the physical environment. So such laboratories also help us visualize the abstract concept. And then it ensures safety also, because if we make mistake, the mistake is happening in the virtual environment. If adding two chemical leads to the burning of a fire or explosion, that explosion happen in virtual environment, not in the real environment. So, in a safe environment, children are performing experiments multiple times and consolidating their learning. So, that safety dimension is also there. And when they go to a real laboratory, because they have learned everything in the virtual environment, they do it in the physical environment and they do it with proficiency, with expending less time on an experiment, and they can then wait for the result. But in the virtual environment, the result that they get is also instant, because we do not have to wait for the phenomena to happen over a period of time. It happens virtually, so we can see results also in a very limited time. So, teaching, learning and pedagogy at middle stage also need to be understood in that context, that we need to make them visualize the concept. So, teaching, if we talk about teaching, teaching is an act of imparting knowledge, imparting skills, imparting values to learners, and we need to adopt pedagogies to impart this knowledge, skill and value. So, knowledge cannot be preached, but it need to be given to students by adopting specific pedagogies, so that preaching is not there, knowledge is not imparted as a one-way delivery of the content, but there is an opportunity for students to ask questions, to learn, to experiment, and so that entire process, teaching encompasses that entire process. And learning of the knowledge which is out there, skills, attitude and values happens when learner participate in the process, in the learning process. They experience the real thing, they visualize things, so then learning occurs. That is the process of learning. And pedagogy, if we define it, it is art and science behind teaching methods and learning activities. So, science or arts of teaching young children is pedagogy. So, if we want to, and one pedagogy is not applicable to all kind of content. We need to adopt different pedagogies for different concept, and it is also important for middle stage, because they are now exposed to more subjects than they learned in foundational and preparatory stage. So, we need to analyze the content and then decide what pedagogy suits to a specific kind of concept, because if we do content analysis, there are different types of knowledge. Knowledge is factual, knowledge is procedural, knowledge is metacognitive, and knowledge is there are different forms of knowledge. So, for factual knowledge we need to adopt different pedagogy, for conceptual we need to adopt different pedagogy, for procedural knowledge we need to adopt different pedagogy, and for metacognitive knowledge we need to adopt different pedagogy.
Right, ma'am. So, ma'am, when you were giving me the example of planetarium, I could recall one incident where we were told or taught about weight and mass, that whatever weight you have on Earth is totally different from what you will have on Moon. It's because of the gravitational pull. Now, these concepts, they require some kind of understanding and visualization, which happened in the planetarium. Now, clearly here, we need to promote curiosity, creativity and deeper understanding among students. How do you think virtual labs are giving opportunities in this context?
Yes, so creativity is always there, because when they are performing a concept in virtual environment, it provides opportunity for first experiential learning.
Yes.
So they are experiencing, that is how they are using their own creativity. So they can manipulate the experiment which is there in virtual environment in any which manner they want to manipulate it. Then inquiry based learning opportunity is also there. Then conceptual and contextual learning is also there. The opportunity for conceptual and contextual understanding is there. So there is also an opportunity for collaborative and reflective learning. They can collaborate, discuss, and then perform an experiment in the virtual environment. So that is also there. And cross curriculum learning is also there. So it promotes a deeper learning because we can perform experiment through activity, through engagement, and through real life applications in a virtual environment. So it also developed critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, collaborative skills, as I have already mentioned, and it fosters holistic development of child, which include also emotional and social competencies, because they are also learning in groups, they are becoming autonomous learners, and it also enhances students' motivation, making learning enjoyable and meaningful for them, because they are doing it on their own. And gamification is also there. They are going through the learning process in a step by step manner, and then it prepares learner for future concept which will introduce to them at the secondary stage.
Yes. Because we are already laying the foundation. Now, Dr. Praveen, I want to understand that how do you think virtual labs support different learning styles like auditory, kinesthetic, or even the visual one among middle stage learners?
Yes, it's a very important part we need to understand, because we believe in education, the holistic development of a child, that is the cognitive development, psychomotor development, and emotional development.
Right.
So whether this virtual lab ensure this type of development? So how does virtual lab support this kind of, different types of learning styles among the students?
True.
So we need to understand how virtual lab supporting this all-round development or holistic development of a child. So if you see some concepts in virtual lab, so virtual lab ensure that the learners with the different learning style, that is the hepatic and that is they learn by by touching and sensing and feeling that one. And some students are kind of by seeing they learn. Some students kind of that reading they learn. Some students are kind of like they listen. That auditory in learning. So the virtual lab ensuring all different kinds of learning style among the students. So you can see here the visual learners benefit from the animation, models, and simulation. That earlier we told that this virtual lab is a collection of different type of rich learning resources. It include animation, video, models, simulation, and you have a reading material also.
Yes.
So next, in a kinesthetic learners engage by clicking, dragging, and like that gamification is there. They are using strategy and planning how to solve that problem. So while that they are dragging, they are clicking, they are assembling all the objects available in that simulation. So this is kind of kinesthetic learning, and they are doing with the digital tools. Then auditory learners benefit from the narration and the guided instruction. Yes, we in our virtual lab that Professor Indu already mentioned.
Yes.
So various language support is there. For now we have a Hindi and English two language. So very soon we will come with that all the various languages. So some students they better learn by hearing. So in the virtual lab we have a feature, so you can play your audio file and you can listen to that one, and you can understand the concept.
Right.
Then the last point I would like to highlight, that is the multi-modal nature of virtual labs that cater diverse learning preference. Slow learners are there, some gifted learners are there. Some students are very introvert in nature, some are very extrovert, some are very social, some are like, no, I will learn myself, I don't want to share and in a group, or I don't want to learn through the collaborative way. So that virtual lab ensure that diversity. So whatever the preference of the students, so which way I will learn better. So virtual lab ensuring that one, like we already discussed, that personalized adaptive learning, or we can say personalized learning, self-directed learning. So this depends on the teachers also and students also, which path they can choose.
Yes.
And for teachers it is very much important to understand, because here we talking about the teaching, learning, the pedagogical practices, how we'll integrate virtual lab on that.
Yeah.
So teacher, they know very well in their classroom their students are different from each other. So how to meet the students' needs in a common our Indian classroom. So virtual lab facilitate teachers to integrate this in their teaching learning process, and that help them to meet the individual needs of a learner.
Right.
So this way it's going to help the learners also.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you will see how it's going to help the teachers. So teachers, they will plan their lesson. So while planning, they will figure it out that what are the different kinds of learners in my classroom. So how they will learn better, how I will engage my students for particular activity.
Right.
So some students having easy to understand one concept, and some are not easy to understand that concept. So accordingly, teacher will assign the assignment to the students, and they can learn by themselves. So that can be done in their lesson planning, and the teacher can give assignment to the student. Some can be accessed during the school hours, some can be accessed after the school hours.
Yes.
Okay. So even the physical lab can be facilitated with this virtual lab, and yes, blended mode of the pedagogical practices now is trending. Because rightly Professor Indu said that reaching 25 lakh students and giving training to the thousands of our teachers is very difficult.
Yes.
So we are come up with that blended mode of teaching and learning, and we need to adopt this blended mode of pedagogical practices in our teaching learning practices. Then assessment, yes, after pedagogy is very much important. After teaching and learning is very important to assess that one.
Yes.
So virtual lab ensuring the teachers, they can easily track and monitor the students' learning, and even they can diagnose where the student facing the difficulties, and what is the reason behind that difficulty. That can be well facilitated by the virtual lab, and they can plan their assessment accordingly. So, and even that we have already discussed that it provides a safe environment. But now next point is that the students, how it's helped the students also. So in nutshell, we can say that teachers is there to guide the students how to use this virtual lab. So they can perform activities multiple times, and like that Professor Indu explained about the accessibility, repeatability, visualization, and safety. That 4 features can be well performed and can help students during this virtual lab exploration.
Yes, but Dr. Praveen, suppose like you talked about diverse learning styles, there are diverse interests also. I'm not interested in maths and sciences. I want to learn about art. So how virtual labs, they're helping me in learning languages, social science, or other creative subjects that I'm interested in?
Yes, in the very beginning of the session, Professor Indu explained about the multilingual and cross-discipline across the subject. Okay. So, in a virtual lab, like you are said, I don't like one subject, I want to learn that different subject. What is the gap between that one? Conceptual understanding. So, how one concept is, interrelated with the other subject concept. So, how is well aligned that can be better presented or visualized in this virtual lab.
Right.
So, you can see this virtual lab can be applicable across the discipline. So, how this can be integrated. So, this science is there, various simulation and experimentation are there, and that science without mathematics is very difficult to understand the abstract concept and solve the problem.
True.
So we can say mathematics help in the easy landing or to the problem solution, because it helps the smooth landing of that any problem. So mathematics is must in science. So it's not like that mathematics is not required in the social science. is required, like that if you explore the solar system and even wanted to know that what is the size of
or carbon dating for that matter.
and how you will calculate that, how you will observe that. So mathematics is very much required.
Yes.
So it's not like that you like the subject science and you don't like the mathematics. So this NCF and NEP try to justify these things. Yes, all subjects are equally important, and it's nothing like that science is more important than mathematics. So this document specially focus that every subject is important and interrelated to each other, and this level of cognitive development at the age of this middle stage, students need to understand this one.
True.
So if you see the science, mathematics, languages and social studies, virtual lab can be integrated.
Right. And now we are left with very little time, and I'm also left with my last question, that Professor Indu, what do you think the kind of support, whether technical, pedagogical or institutional, is essential for teachers to integrate virtual labs meaningfully, especially at the middle stage?
Yes, very right. Facilities should be
Yes,
there because it is a technology driven initiative. So we need to have facilities for that at the school level. So we need to have a technical infrastructure in each and every school. And in the far flung areas and rural areas also, now it is possible to have that technical infrastructure, because in the last few decades there is a large number of electrification of the villages
Rural
also.
areas,
So now technology can also go in those areas. So we need to have bare minimum ICT infrastructure in our schools. Devices should be there. It can be laptop, desktops or tablets we can have in our schools, or we can have smart boards with internet connectivity. Second important aspect therefore is internet, and then IT support is also there, because IT infrastructure need to be maintained also, managed also all the time. So we need to have these three things: devices, internet and IT support to maintain the infrastructure. And then a pedagogical requirement is also there. There should be continuous training on integration of virtual labs and how to design activities around virtual labs which are already there in virtual environment. So it is not there that students need to understand independently. They are left just to learn by accessing the virtual labs. Teachers can also integrate virtual labs in their pedagogical design, in their lesson plan. For that they require training, and these trainings are for that purpose only, because in the days to come we will demonstrate virtual labs in different subject areas, because your last question was about the subject areas which virtual labs cater to, not only science
and maths,
but it caters to social science and languages also. Because there are a lot of historical monuments across the world. In a lifetime we cannot visit all the monuments. So we can have virtual tours for that, so that we can experience the kind of a monument which is there. So that is how they are important. I have cited just one example. We can integrate virtual labs with social sciences as well. So that training is required, and these trainings are for that purpose only. Then there should be institutional support also. At institutional level we need to understand the policy requirement and how we support the implementation of policy by appropriate planning in a time bound manner, and we recognize the importance and needs of the NEP and NCF recommendations, so that we can implement this policy which is very modern and up to date to enhance the quality of education. So that kind of institutional planning and support is also required. And then continuous professional development ecosystem need to be maintained in school. Like these trainings are now happening in a virtual environment. So through using a video conferencing tool, and they are also telecasted on different 24/7 channels. So
Yes.
that ecosystem should also be there for the teachers in the school premises, so that they can learn together and understand various professional development programs which are happening for them. So that ecosystem needs to be built by the school leaders and administrators. So that kind of support is essential for not only for virtual labs, but for the implementation of all the recommendations of NEP 2020 to modernize our education, to have a world-class education system in our country.
And ma'am, see, we have come a full circle. We started with the recommendations, we see how they can be effectively implemented through NCF-SE, and now we're talking about the ecosystem and the support. So I think we have covered this entire journey in a very beautiful and detailed manner. Because we're running short of time, because this, of course there are so many questions, but you won't be able to take them. But we have learned a lot from this session, and it was all about this wonderful teaching and learning strategy at the middle stage. This was our day 2 session, and I must thank my experts for their wonderful contribution and for their extensive knowledge that they have imparted to us regarding the topic today. So Professor Indu, Dr. Praveen, thank you so much for your time and presence. Thank you.
Thank you, viewers.
And now I am definitely winding up this session over here. It came to you under the umbrella theme of our 7-hour online training program, that is integration of virtual labs for teaching, learning and assessment at the middle stage. So the day 2 session is over. But what about day 3? What will be coming tomorrow? Let's take a look. So teaching, learning and this entire cycle is not complete without assessment. We will be focusing on the same tomorrow. And as I told you in the beginning, let me remind you that assessment courses will be uploaded soon. So you are requested to kindly visit our CIET website if you wish to attempt the assessment and participate. So with this, I'm closing the session over here, but I have some more important information for you. So let's talk about textbooks first. Yes, textbooks for grade 4 and 7 are now available on Amazon, Flipkart and NCERT website. You can definitely purchase them from there, and you can have a look at the schedule of the program. So there is this list of programs that we have lined up for you today. We're through with the session on virtual labs, and at 12 we will bring you our session for inclusive classrooms. It will be in Hindi, and the 2 p.m. session will be on EVS. Topic is right there in front of you, getting to know your plants. 2:30 p.m. we will talk about English, followed by a session of mathematics at 3 p.m. Patterns around us will be the topic. 3:30 p.m. there will be a session of Urdu, and 4 to 5 p.m. we will bring you our online training program on social media safety. At 5 p.m. we will close the day with our session Sahyog, where we will be talking about evaluating education, adapting to change. With this, it's a wrap. This is me, Harpreet Kaur, taking leave of you. Namaskar.